Hola, yo soy el señor Lobelo, soy tu profesor de español para este verano y el año próximo de la escuela. Bueno, well, I'm Mr. Lobello, and I'm going to be your Spanish teacher for the next summer, for the next few weeks. And this is a video series to help you, the sixth grader or seventh grader, get caught up on what we're going to be covering this coming year, so you're not left behind. And this could be a good review for those of you who were with me last year or have taken Spanish in the past. Because of course the things that we do are a little bit different here than they are in other places. Just like any other subject you're going to take in school. So the first thing I thought I would start off doing is talking about Spanish pronunciation, and indeed how we pronounce things in Spanish. The first thing to think about is the vowels. And look right here, we'll have the vowels written down. The vowels in Spanish always make the same sound. Of course, in English we have different sounds, when one letter is followed by a different letter, but in Spanish, every time you see these vowels, they always make the same noise, right? So, starting with the vowels, here they are: A, E, I, O, U. One more time: A, E, I, O, U. Right? The idea here is that whenever you see the vowel like that, it makes the same noise. There are some vowel combinations. We'll talk about those down the line. A good way of remembering this is this little rhyme that I learned when I was in high school. You just say this: A, E, I, O, U, el burro sabe más que tú. Okay? Try to say that with me. A, E, I, O, U, el burro sabe más que tú. The next thing to notice is that some of the consonants are a little bit different. Some of them are the same. One thing to note is the letter C sounds like a K when it's in front of the vowels A, O, or U. So we have words like casa, we have words like Colombia, words like cuatro. But then it sounds like an S in front of E or I. So we have words like cierro or cero. The letter G sounds like an H when it's in front of the letters E or I. So we have words like gemelo or gimnasio, and it sounds like a normal G, like a hard gus sound when it's in front of A, O, or U. So we have words like agua, gorila, we have words like garganta. Bueno, the letter H is totally silent, and it's often just used as a placeholder, and it separates syllables. You'll find that whenever you have vowels side by side, they often will combine, or they'll form their own different distinct syllables, but if they were to combine, what you do is you just stick an H in between them, and they'll suddenly be separated. So we have words like chihuahua, which normally would have just one big mixture of, one big melange of syllables, but because we have H's in between each one of those A's and U's, we have three distinct syllables: chihuahua. That's the idea. H's are totally silent. We don't ever say the letter H. The letter J's always sound like the letter H in English, no matter what it's on top of, no matter what follows it. So we have words like jaula, we have words like Jesucristo, and we have words like Jose, jaula, Jesucristo, things like that. Right? The letter L by itself makes an L sound. However, when there's two L's side by side, we have words like what makes a Y sound. And in some cases, if you go to different countries, it makes a J sound. So you have words like me llamo, or lluvia, or llueve, things like that. The letter LL, when double L side by side, makes this ya sound. Sometimes you'll see this letter N, and you'll see like this letter N, but sometimes you'll see it with this little tilde on top of it. The idea being that when you have this little squiggle mark on top of your N, it changes the sound from an N, from a normal N, to this ñ sound. So you have words like señor, like señor Lobelo, or this word piñata, or even words that start with that little N sound, like the word ñame. We also have the letter R. R by itself doesn't really sound like an R, like the hard sound, the sort of lateral sound where you put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, and then the air passes on either side. The lateral sound R, like that. It doesn't actually make that noise, but it makes it more like a D sound, an almost occlusive sound where like you actually stop the air from going through, like you're saying the letter D, like the word buddy or ladder. So we have this word pero, which like with a little R there, and so instead of saying pero, we're saying pero. If you listen to the little tip of a D on the tip of your tongue, on the roof of your mouth. But you see two R's side by side, that's where we get that wonderful rolling R. So we have words like guitarra, or if you see the R at the end of a word, you'll see it'll roll as well, like profesor. Or even if it's at the beginning of the word, like a name, you might say Raúl. But by itself, in the middle of a word, between two consonants, the letter R just makes a sort of a light D sound. Letter Q is almost always followed by a U. Sometimes you might see it at the end of you might see it by itself, but normally if you ever see the letter Q in Spanish, it'll always be followed by a U, but it doesn't make the KW, the qua sound. It always makes a hard K sound. So you have a word like KUE, like this right here, you'll say que, and you won't say que. Right? You have this word quien, it won't be quien. You have this word quiero, it won't be quiero. It just, the QUI makes a key sound, QUA makes a K sound. One thing that tends to trip people up is the letter V and the letter B. Even in native speakers, is the difference between the letter V and B. In Spanish, the V and B don't actually have any difference. They actually sound precisely the same. It's a hard B sound for both. So if it starts off the word, you'll have a hard B sound. So like this word right here, instead of being pronounced vengo, it's pronounced bango. But if you have it in between two consonants, it actually makes a sort of buzzing sound. So you have this word yo vengo, which you actually, if you watch my mouth, it actually doesn't, my lips don't actually meet. It's more like a W sound with a buzz. So yo vengo versus bango if it just starts off by itself. So you actually see a lot of spelling errors for that on the part of native speakers because they're not really sure when a V comes and when a B comes because they make the same sound. So it really doesn't matter. Letter Y, when you see it by itself, is this word over here. This is a word by itself that means and it's pronounced E. So you see that a lot. Oftentimes you'll see the Y in front of a word that's often a English word, like this word yerse. And sometimes again, you see these words will have the J sound in front of them instead of just the normal Y sound. So you'll have this word yerse. That's why those or pijamas, things like that. Finally, the letter Z makes an S sound. There's no Z sound on it. It's just the word like so. You have this word zapato or zeta, the letter Z, zeta. All right, so I'm going to run across some words across the screen and see if you can't figure out how they're supposed to be pronounced just by looking at them from what we just learned. You should have on your sheet a list of the rules that I just described to you. So let's see if we can't figure out what these words are supposed to sound like. I'll give you a second to see if you can't figure it out. Then I'll say it, and if you could repeat after me. Zapatos. Zapatos. Comida. Comida. Buscamos. Buscamos. Queremos. Queremos. Lluvia. Lluvia. Bahía. Bahía. Computadora. Computadora. And of course, we'll do more stuff with this and different things, but getting a rudimentary idea of the way the Spanish is pronounced will go a long way in helping you kind of make sense of what's on the page and make sense of what's being said to you. It's a really strong thing to be able to read something and to be able to envision how it's supposed to be spelled. In fact, pronunciation errors, they have a tendency of fossilizing, of early mistakes kind of making their way into your brain and letting you think that that's how things are supposed to be pronounced in general. And those pronunciation errors can actually lead to spelling errors, which can actually lead to miscommunication. So it's really important that we get down Spanish pronunciation early and we understand how each thing is supposed to be pronounced. Okay, well, I hope this lesson has been helpful to you, and definitely do stay tuned for the next one. Thanks a lot.